is a specialty product, if the buyer's agent doesn't understand it or the loan officer that they're working with doesn't understand the product, that's where a lot of the confusion comes from. And so again, I tell all my military people, I don't care if you use me, don't use my lender, don't use my lender, find someone who knows what they're doing.
For sure. My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to the Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh. And joining us on this episode, I'm excited to talk to him, break down his real estate market. We want to welcome Jeff Schnell to the Closing Table. How are you, Jeff?
Doing good, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing just great. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be here on the Closing Table and taking time out of your very busy schedule. We always appreciate that, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let's do this, man. I want to talk a little bit about real estate. I want to talk a little bit about you. So let's start off with you. In 60 seconds or less, Jeff, can you tell us who you are outside of real estate?
Man, outside of real estate, it pretty much just comes down to family. Being here in the Midwest, we can get to the mountains in just a few hours. We can get over to the Lake of the Ozarks or Arkansas, Missouri to the lakes in just a couple hours. So getting out with the kids, making sure that we take time off with the kids. It's all about the family. And I'm super blessed. My wife's one of 7 and all of them are here in town. We moved my sister here. We moved my parents here. So, it's for me, anything outside of real estate, it's family. And whether it's my blood family or my military family.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So a military veteran yourself?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your service, sir. We always like to acknowledge that. Thank you for your service. Oh, cool. That lets us know a family man, a veteran, and a leader, a successful businessman also. So good. We love to hear that type of thing about the people and our guests here on the Closing Table. So let's move into the business aspect and why we're here. You're a professional in real estate. Let's just describe your real estate business. Just talk about how you would describe your whole structure, your business. And if you are able to hit on a few key points, how long you've been licensed, any notable achievements, what you consider your specialty or niche.
Yeah, so I've been playing in the real estate world now for over 2 decades. Came to it with a background in residential construction. I've served now totally almost 10 years on the loan officer side of it, the mortgage side, and worked my way all the way up to a private mortgage banker. And then I've been on this side of the table working the real estate for, 9 going on 10 years. Okay. And I've got a team with a partner, and obviously being a military veteran, that niche, it's easy. It's military. And so she's a mil spouse, she's a Navy wife, and I'm Army. Served with the 82nd Airborne Infantry, and then later on with the 1st Air Cav as an Apache crew chief. Okay. And so really my heart and my passion, even when I did lending, the first lending job I worked at, that bank only wrote VA loans. First year of my life, that's all I did. So we have a heart, we have a passion with that. But as far as what our real estate business looks like with my partner, we are more we're hyper focused on our military and our heroes. With that, then that also makes it easy for us to just naturally fall into that world of relo for the corporate relo. And the way our business is structured is really, it's more of the two of us running our business together. I can go on vacation, my clients are covered. She can go on vacation, clients are covered. So we kind of have the best of both worlds. We can operate as solos. We kind of do our own business, but then we also have someone that is very professional, has the same level of standard of care to our clients, that can take care of them while we're out. And then also it lets us cross collaborate our business. So that's really why we did it. I've been licensed as an agent for over 9 years, got my broker's license about 5 years ago. And man, the greatest accomplishments I could probably say, I've been a managing broker of an office that had almost 350 active agents. Oh, wow. Some of the cool things I've got to do on the national stage with VA, I got to serve with a group of just over 20 people with Keller Williams Corporate on what we called the task force. It was the precursor to the KW military division. And so we basically helped build out the military division, the dream, the vision, the goals of what that division would look like. And then in its inaugural year, got to serve as one of the regional directors. And then I serve as one of 5 national directors for a group called MARN, which stands for Military Agent Resource Network.
Okay.
Broker Blind Hub. It lets anybody with a VA transaction call in. First timers, they've never done a deal, they can call in, they can get help. It's kind of a scenario help desk hub, education hub. We're huge into educating about the VA product because usually if something goes wrong with it in the transaction, it was lack of education somewhere. As not the
Mm.
product. Usually the product's amazing, but no, so we do a lot of education, but getting to serve as one of the 5 national directors there. We do a lot of fundraising nationally for different groups, which and then that just kind of comes back into what we do here locally too. We work with a lot of veterans organizations locally, for nonprofit stuff to help them within what we do. That comes back to kind of the housing scenario, working with groups that help get like homeless vets off the street back into their own home. I've done work in the past with Habitat for Humanity. Um, so we do a lot of social community involvement as well, but it usually always relates somewhere back into the world of real estate.
Right, right. Man, very, very interesting. Just that synopsis alone kind of brought up a few different questions for me. So
Yeah.
I wrote some of those down, so I'm gonna ask those as we move forward. But I love that you're working within your passion. You have a passion for military vets. You've held different positions of authority within organizations that help out military vets. So you're doing the work, man, and I love it. I love it. I love to hear that you're giving back to the people who I feel really deserve to be accommodated. And I do have some, we're going to talk about that
Yes.
coming up too. But good, man. Good, Jeff. I love to hear and meet people like yourself that's doing that groundwork. So I think we breezed over it, but let's get into it. Where
Yeah.
you actually service your market. So I want you to
Correct.
describe your current market geographically. All right. So there's going to be
Yep.
another question I asked for you to get into the business part, but geographically, talk about where you're located, what it looks like, what's the culture like, what's the people like,
Yep.
landmarks, notable things to do. Just describe your market for someone who may have never been there, like myself.
Yeah. So we're here in Wichita, Kansas. We're South Central Kansas. We're just hour north of the Oklahoma border.
Okay.
And man, it honestly, so like I said before, my wife's one of 7 from here, born and raised here. She kind of imported me. When we moved here, we were living in Dallas, Fort Worth, no kids. And I didn't know, I thought I was going to hate it because I'm like, man, I'm going from anything I want to do any day of the week to, man, there's just going to be nothing to do there. It's just going to be some little town in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. Now, I was born and raised in nowhere, Oklahoma. So I already had the small town feel, but I'm like,
Okay.
man, going back, I don't know, but man, I'm telling you now. So we are either the biggest small town or the smallest big city you could ever want to visit. It's such an amazing place. I tell people that have never lived here, now that I've started my family here, I'm raising my kids here. Like I've moved family here because that's how much I love it. The people, the culture is so amazing. We're so diverse, and we're also diverse politically. We're diverse ethnically. We're diverse in almost any way you could count. We've got military here, small town values. And man, I'm
Mm.
telling you what, one of the biggest things that I love when people are moving here is to be able to tell them about the traffic. Like I can be clear across town in 30 minutes, rush hour with a wreck. Like, and I'm talking one side of the metro to the other side. So, that is a big bump here. But the biggest thing that I love about our town, location, city geographic, being here in nowhere, Kansas, is man, the skylight. Like you can see
Mm.
the stars. You can get just outside of town and there's no noise, there's no lights. We can see the
Nice.
northern lights from here. Um,
Mm.
and Wichita is known historically, Cowtown. We were one of the destination stops from Texas with the cattle drives. We still have Wild West Town still set up here in our museum district where cattle were
Nice.
brought in. And one of the things I tell everybody when you're coming to town, you have to go check out the Keeper of the Plains. Big, huge statue that we have that sits over the river, keeps watch over the river. Huge native. He's amazing. He stands there every night at sundown. We light him up with lights, up lights, and then we've got these big, huge flames in front of him.
Oh
It's
wow. You said
yeah, he
keeper
just
of the plains?
Keeper of the Plains.
Okay,
So
okay.
just kind of sits watch and watches over Wichita, right over our river. And then something Wichita is so known for here locally, a lot of people don't know. We love to eat out. Tons of locally owned restaurants, locally owned breweries. So it's a great place to just get out, hang out with your family, and go try different things.
Nice, man. Nice. Man, you just kind of took me into a tour without me really even being there. Just kind of listening. And the Northern Lights was probably one of the ones that impressed me because us being here in Michigan, we hear about the Northern Lights. You may be able to see it from a certain angle at a certain time, and you might 5 o'clock in the morning stand on someone's house. Like we have to kind of go through a lot to possibly see it. But for you, and that's one of the things I've always wanted to see. And for you to have that
Yep.
great spot, that great geographical location where you can actually see it. Because I believe
Yep.
it's more of a Canada thing
Yeah.
up north,
It's
Alaska kind
usually
of thing.
usually have to be
Yeah.
really north, but there's multiple nights here. Lighting's perfect. We just had one post up in a Facebook group for pictures of Kansas, and it's like perfect picture of the Northern Lights with the
Mm.
Kansas sunset and the Kansas horizon in the background.
Oh, bro,
Yep.
that sounds so peaceful. Oh, that sounds so peaceful. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. I've never been to Wichita. I don't even recall if I've ever been to Kansas. So here's something that I learned today. I was today years old. Kansas and Wichita is part of the Midwest, technically. I thought it would have been more of like the Great Plains type area, but it's considered
Well,
Midwest.
we just everything out here is on the plains, but yeah, we consider ourselves Midwest all the way up through the Dakotas
Mm,
and then going back across like Missouri, Iowa,
right.
Indiana. Like that's yeah, we're like at the
Interesting.
edge. We're like at the edge.
Okay,
The
okay. I can see
prairie.
that.
I'll take prairie lands. I'll take Midwest, but it's that good home people, right? Just and
Hmm.
everybody knows everybody. Everybody likes everybody. Everybody hangs out. Everybody helps their neighbor type of thing.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful.
I
Okay,
love it.
cool. Cool. So we got into the geographical part, to paint that picture. Now let's talk about the economics, right? Real estate
Yeah.
wide. Do you have any data that you can share with us as far as how real estate is looking in that market? Average price
Yep.
points, days on the market, sale to list price. I mean, anything that you can give us, please.
Yeah, so one of the great things about being in the middle is also we don't get the big swings like the coasts do. So like
Mm-hmm.
'08, this last little run with, COVID pricing, yeah, we experienced it, but not the extremes. That's a
Yeah.
benefit. Also with the economy, what's great about here is our housing market doesn't have those steep inclines, declines. We're pretty straight and steady.
Mm-hmm.
Economically, we're pretty short up. We have a bunch of national companies that are based in Wichita. Aviation, obviously, we're the air capital of the world, so lots
Mm,
of aviation industry here. But when it comes to the housing, the beautiful thing is that also means our housing market doesn't do sharp up and downs.
right.
We don't see if the economy's down, we don't see a lot of foreclosures. So with that, like our average price point, it's risen now. We'll just say 235, 237 is
Oh,
about the average
wow.
price point. You're probably going to get about a 1700, 1800 square foot home, 3 to 4 bed, two, maybe 3 bath, 2 car garage, randomly a 3 car garage. So
For
people
less than
love moving here.
250. Mm,
People love moving here from California.
I bet.
And because they can
Yeah,
sell a house, buy a
right.
house, and still have money left over.
Yeah, buy a house
Um,
cash. Yeah.
Correct. And so with that, right now, obviously in the middle of winter, market slowed down a little bit. I tell
Yeah.
everybody the easiest way for me to explain it, during COVID, we were driving 100. If nobody was looking, we'd sneak off and do 120. Um, but in that, we slowed down to about 50. But
Right, right,
pre-COVID,
right.
the speed limit was 25, 35 to begin with. So
Uh,
our market is still really strong. Um, but in that, average days on market, 200 to 300, we're still seeing those mid 40 days to go under
mm,
contract. And then we're usually about a 30-day close. So usually right now, the whole process, you're 2 to 3 months. When
yeah.
we step up, 300 to 500, well, actually 3 to 400 is a different market. 400 to 500 is a different market here.
Mm-hmm.
Our 3 to 4 is still moving pretty good. Our 4 to 5, they're over 90 days on average right now.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we get to our million plus, because we don't have a lot of million plus here, those actually go a little bit faster. They're still averaging 60 to 65 days. So it really depends. But the beautiful thing is we do have a huge vast range and selection, all the way from first-time home buyers can usually get in here a really solid house for 185 to 200. Um, they can get into something that if they're willing to put some elbow grease into it, they can still squeeze into something about 150.
Mm.
So, um, and then we also have a lot of our rent market here is still really good.
Okay.
And honestly, we still have more people looking rent and buy than we have inventory. It's just our buyers are getting a little
Yeah.
bit more selective
Yeah.
with what they're buying because they're not forced to, put 3 offers out today and 3 offers tomorrow and they're not putting 3 offers a day out for 2 weeks looking for just something.
Yeah.
They can be more selective now, and it's good for both sides of the coin. It's not great for buyers to be over offering and waiving things that they need more than 10 minutes in a house to decide if they want to buy it when it's the largest investment at the time that they're going to have. Most Americans, their current home, if they're a homeowner, their current home is their largest investment they have.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but market's still solid, market's still good. Um, we're not seeing a big decline. We have seen some homes, with reprice, we'll call it. They just kind of probably got listed at the top of the market, and
Mm-hmm.
we're hoping. And it's the market we're in. It's honestly, I feel really bad for those sellers that will, for the last 3 years, every friend, family member they've talked to that sold a house, oh man, we had 10 offers in the first 10 minutes, or and they've been hearing that, and now they're having to play the wait game.
Yep.
It's for some of them, it's kind of hard. So we're trying to educate them. Yeah, I had a guy call me and, man, we only had 4 showings our first weekend. What do we need to do to pick this up? And like, man, that's great. We had several open houses that went live this weekend that only had one person show up to the open house. Like 4 in a weekend, opening weekend you're doing good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it's keeping just keeping the consumers educated is kind of, because we've shifted a lot from that COVID side of go, 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 go.
Of course. See, and man, so much to digest with that. But one thing I took away from that, the pricing there. Now,
Yes.
once you painted the picture and added more context, it made sense. But basically, as a first-time home buyer, you can get in there and purchase a home for less than $250. It sounds like even in some cases, if you were willing to put in some work, less than $200. You don't
Yes.
hear that in too many markets. Trust me. Someone who's interviewed and talked to agents all across the country, that 250 low than 200, you don't find that too often. Now, I'm going to make a guess. I'm from Detroit. So I know that we can have homes like that. Actually, I was just in Detroit over the weekend. You can get homes for 250, 200, but you're going to have to put in some work or the neighborhood is going to be sketchy.
Yep.
I would like to make a guess that you probably don't have too many rundown neighborhoods in that area or within that market.
No.
So if you're getting a home, you probably don't have to worry too much about the neighborhood as you do about the actual home. Is that correct?
Correct.
Beautiful.
We have very, very, very few, and even our city here is so involved in habitat. Like we had a section of town that if I was to call out the street corners, everybody was like, no, you don't want to live there. And close to one of the universities, the city went in, did neighborhood revitalization. Habitat came in and bought up some houses, tore them down, rebuilt. And what was crazy was as soon as we got up the first 2 houses, every landlord in that area that had let things just go for decades, all of a sudden we started seeing new siding go up. We started seeing new paint go up because now they can't rent because a couple of them did it and they're renting for more money. Well, now they can't rent if they don't clean it up, and they don't want to be the neighbor down the street that looks horrible when they got new construction right there. And so we have a really good partnership with our municipalities and different nonprofits that will come in and rehab areas. So yeah, I'm telling you, man, you need to come to Wichita, Kevin.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
we know how to do it.
It sounds like it, man. Beautiful. So yeah, it seems like the place to go, man. If you are interested and want a nice, good, steady family environment, community with some great home prices, by the way. So let's get into, I guess, a little bit of your marketing style. I saw some of your videos, your live walkthroughs, your virtual tours. Very nice work, by the way. I even saw the video that you did Media Day. I mean, very great footage, great production, everything. So let's talk about you using that to help your clients to even look at some of the properties that they may not be able to see in person? More specifically, let's keep it on military veterans, because some of them may be placed abroad and looking for homes in a certain market. So can you talk about or share a story where this technology that you use played a critical role in helping a military family find their ideal home?
Oh, yes. So just being real, we've been doing virtual showings before COVID made it cool. We've been doing it for about 6, 7 years. But specifically, I had a phone ring one morning. It's literally just after 6 o'clock, and it was a number from Hawaii. And I'm like, somebody in Hawaii is calling somebody in Wichita, and they just misdialed. There's no way somebody's calling me at 6 in the morning. So I let it go to voicemail, but immediately a voicemail popped up. So I'm like, no way. So I picked it up, and there was a lady crying. She was sitting at the airport. Our voicemail, I'm at the airport. I've been in Wichita since last Wednesday. I flew in. My husband's deployed, overseas, and I'm in Hawaii, and so I flew into town because I don't want to move to Wichita without seeing the home I'm buying.
Mm.
And I got referred to an agent. All she wanted to do was go shopping, show me the town, like kind of introduce her to Wichita. And she goes, all I want to do was buy a house. And she goes, we got only one offer out in like 5 days, and agent never followed up with the offer, and I don't know what to do. I'm devastated. I'm going to have to move my family. I don't know what to do. And she had always been stateside where she could get to the market to go look at her next house. She had never bought a home, and they had moved multiple times with the military.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, immediately I called her back, and we talked for about 20, 30 minutes so I could get everything she needed, wanted, kind of explained how we did it. But then I was able to go in and we go in. I have a media background. I'm always on the other side of the camera. I'm never on this side. But having that media background and knowing how to frame stuff up and zoom in on certain things so they can see it, you go create some little YouTube 5 minute, 6 minute videos and stack 4 or 5 of them. Most people are in and out of a house in 10, 15 minutes when they're looking at it live in person, but I would go create 30, 45 minutes worth of video. And it really helped because, her husband, he was in the sandbox. So his time zone and my time zone almost opposite of each other. Every time I talked to him, it'd be 2, 3 in the morning. And that's something that, since we're military, we understand that if you're deployed, you're in the time zone you're in, you can't change it. And sometimes during your workday, you only have a certain window that you can actually do personal things during the daytime there. And so if we have to talk to you at 2, 3 in the morning, that's what we're doing.
Right.
If we're watching videos together at 2 in the morning, so you can say, no, I don't like that, I like that. That's what we're doing. But ultimately, we bought a home. They closed on it from Hawaii. They bought it before they even saw it. Then we met them at the home, and of course they loved it. But we do that. I say that exact scenario we do multiple times a year, where people will buy without ever seeing. But being able to have the background in construction, where when we walk into a home, we know what we're looking for, that can help. And then just being able to get them the right look, the right angle, seeing stuff, or pointing out is like, hey, you can't see it in the camera, but there's some stains in the carpet right there. Yeah, I know you're not going to see them when you look, but I can see it. Or, hey, when I'm looking at the house with the camera, this whole house needs to be recaulked. There's no, painter needs to get out here and caulk all the joints and everything. You'll never see it on camera, but I'm telling you, right there, there. Camera can't see rotted siding, but it's there. It gives them that sense of peace that it's the next best thing. And it's definitely better than just looking at, 15, 20 pictures online. That'll never tell the story of a home.
Correct.
So it's really what we're trying to do is tell the story of the home to that potential home buyer, sometimes thousands of miles away.
Yeah, that's very interesting, man, because I feel like that's more of where we're going to be in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, some people were ahead of the curve with, doing the virtual tours and live walkthroughs before the pandemic. The pandemic definitely excelled that necessity, or that tool, I should say. But now I feel like it may get to a point to where I don't want to say exclusively, but it may get to a point to where that's a tool a lot of people will depend more on, even if they are in the same city or town where they want to see a home, maybe just because of their schedule or whatever the case may be, or convenient. I see virtual walkthroughs and virtual tours being so popular, like almost like a Carvana kind of thing.
Yep.
Now, I think we'll still need the agents like yourself. Like maybe if you need to actually go to the home, do the, check out some things and, point out things for your clients. But I see that being the future. So you getting ahead of the curve and putting a lot of work into it and using top of the line technology, cameras, and, to actually go in there, point things out. I think that is a very, very smart way to do business. And I think it's almost a necessity going forward, if you just ask me personally.
It is. It is. And, and honestly, like even for us, the flip side, the marketing, the social, like, I have the background in it, I can do it, but being an agent, I'm busy doing agent stuff. It really wasn't. I mean, if you go deep enough into my social, you'll see where I ran my social channels, and then you'll see right where I hired somebody. I just, as a broker, man, I'm telling everybody, like, one, if you're not doing video, you're already 5 years behind. Like you said, like it's this video, right? Or doing video of homes, pictures that can just show me one of 1,000 angles. So video, I believe video is going to become even more important going forward.
Correct.
And like you said, if people are busy and they just can't get to a home, having quality media as a listing agent, having quality media of your home, it'll stand out. But then I tell people, do what you're good at, which I know this side of it, but man, to have a professional that we hired and they just take care of our social channels for us, and we hired them. They're in house. We didn't go hire a company. We hired somebody so she knows our voice, our brand, our anything we do. It looks and feels like us. And I tell people all the time, as soon as you can get there, hire somebody.
There you go. Wise words. I think I just recently read a book. I forgot the name of it, but they were basically talking about smart entrepreneurs. They hire people to leverage their time. Your time is valuable, so you want to use your time to focus on making the big moves, the big decisions, and you let everybody else handle, the other things that they're good at. So I couldn't have said it better myself, Jeff. So while we are going through this transaction, let's say on the buying side, right? You get to a point to where you have to do an inspection in most cases, unless it's waived. But where you're doing an inspection, or you're getting an inspection done on a property, and then there's an unforeseen, unexpected issue, which it happens sometimes, right? During inspection. You have a situation or a story that you could share with us that may have been one of your toughest hurdles to overcome during an inspection for a client. And can you talk about how you overcame that?
Man, so we just closed one a couple months ago, and it wasn't that it was hard to negotiate. It was hard. The whole situation was kind of hard. My buyer, pregnant, and had some things going on there. They're just getting moved here. Lots of things going on. He's a pilot, so he's in and out a lot. So just all this stuff going on with them. But then Mr. Seller, his mother passed away during the transaction. And so when it got to the repairs and the inspections, co-op agent, great, phenomenal agent, but she was just brand new. She just didn't know what she didn't know. So she was asking me, well, who should I call for this? Who should I call for that? And we wound up getting down close to the end where he had filed a claim on the roof. And this is a plug for don't cheap out on your insurance. He went with a internet only provider, and they were like, no, we looked at his roof like 6 months ago. He doesn't have any roof damage. Well, we're missing shingles. My roofer, her roofer gets on. We've got roof is toast. Wow. And they didn't want to claim it. And it's like a $28,000-$29,000 roof that is being handed to a gentleman that just lost his mom. Ooh. And then we find out one of the windows is broke and can't get the loan without, and the glass can be out with a cover, but you can't have broken glass exposed to close the loan. Couldn't get a window company out there. So, I mean, this is honestly what we do. And it's things I love doing for my clients. This wasn't even for our clients. It was for the sellers. We went out, got all my safety equipment because I have a background in construction, got my 20-foot extension ladder, got my glass break tools, got my gloves on and got up there, and we got all the glass out of the window for him because they just couldn't find anybody. And he was so focused on things that were important, family, um,
Mm-hmm.
that and she didn't know who to call. So we just took care of it. We needed a window well covered. The window well was like 10, 12 foot wide by 4 foot deep. So we just built a window well cover, measured it up, spec'd it out for code, went and got it installed, and then worked with our roofer multiple times. We got on with his adjuster on the phone. I got on the phone with his agent, with his adjuster. Um, my roofer got on the phone in group calls. We did multiple rounds, and finally we were able to get it claimed for him. So instead of $29,000 out of pocket for the seller, because he was going to have to replace it, he only had to pay his deductible. My roofer, because he knew his mom had passed and we had somebody military involved, he was able to work some stuff. And I think we wound up, he had like a $3,500 deductible, and I think he was only like 1,000 out of pocket.
Oh
Um,
man, look at you.
so,
Oh man.
it's not, I tell agents, when I was a broker, I would tell my agents, it's not just about your side, it's about the transaction. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you just got to step in and help somebody.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, but we were literally with getting the appraiser back out there to check the window well and check the window to make sure the glass was out. We literally were down to the wire. And the appraiser actually did us a solid. They were like an hour away. And if we didn't get the appraisal in that day, we were not going to close on time. So they drove and met me there at like 6 o'clock at night at the house to verify and check off and get everything back to the lender that night so we could still get it done. So yeah, it's
Nice.
sometimes, being in the industry, sometimes you have to go do things you don't want to do when you don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even if it's
But
not for the
it's
benefit of your client, but like
Yep,
you said, it's for the benefit of the entire transaction.
correct. Which eventually benefits, getting my
For
client,
sure.
closing late. They would have had to move out of their rental. They already had their stuff in a truck, you know. There's so
Just a
many other moving
snowball effect.
pieces. You just
Yeah.
do what's right for the whole deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man, good job right there, Jeff. Man, I commend that. That's what's so I love to hear that, man. Using the skills that you have to just step in and just get it done. It's not like it
Yep.
costs you too much. Just a little bit of your time, your
Yep.
effort, a few supplies. But other than that, something minor like this, I can fix it. Let's go. Let's keep it moving. What else do we
Yep.
need to do? I love that, man. I'm the same way. I'm the exact same way. I want to talk about VA loans because I
Mm,
don't get to ask too many of my guests
yes.
about this. And with you having that background, I'm ready to pick your brain about it. So almost a decade VA home loan specialist experience. Love that. So you have a situation where your expertise in VA loans secure a competitive financial package for a military client while overcoming your toughest obstacle. And then I do want to ask another question about military vets and VAs, but just that one first.
Yeah. So it really became evident that if you're going to specialize, if you're going to niche in the VA world, you
Mm-hmm.
have to know your product inside and out. And that became super evident during COVID. During the pandemic, when people are over offering and over offering and over offering, trying to figure out how to best serve your clients, because I know that if they're active duty military, they're probably only going to be here 3 to 5 years at the most.
Mm.
Means I have to protect them on the front side, that we can't, even if they want to over offer, making sure they're educated that, hey, if we over offer, we could find ourselves in a spot that if you have to sell in a year, 2 years, 3 years, you might be upside down.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's because you're using 100% financing. And it's not like if you do conventional and you do 20% down. Well, even if you're upside down, you walked away from cash you put at the table. You're
Correct.
still, it still hurts either way.
Mm-hmm.
But with the VA side, making sure that you're protecting them on the front side. But then, man, during COVID, I had a deal. We made an offer, multiple offers. And the beautiful thing about it was that I knew the co op agent really well. And when she talked with the seller, she said, "Man, during COVID, everything is happening so fast that you need to look at way, way more than just the offer on its face. You need to look at who the other agent is. You need to look at who their lender is. You need to look at what title company they want to use, because any one of those pieces fails, the whole deal blows up. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're in a moving truck and you're expecting to close, we do a lot of back-to-back closings here if it's
Mm.
local move. Um, and so they talked with them and they explained, they're like, first, like he's been doing this for so long. If Jeff has a buyer and he hands us an offer because he was a lender, they're not just pre-approved. We know that they've already been in front of an underwriter. We know that any questions that might come up with them has already been asked, answered.
Mhm.
Um, and he never puts an offer on the table that they can't cover. And so just having a quality reputation in that product, not just that, hey, he's a good realtor, he's a good agent to work with, but with this product, I don't have to worry about it. I know it's good. And I know that if anything comes up, either he can take care of it or he knows who can.
Right.
And, we were able to get them in. And honestly, we were probably 10,000 under the highest offer. And we still got it because that came with an out of state lender, just all these variables that we just don't know. And if you can't, and so it really became evident during the pandemic that if you knew your product well, you could still win. And then having access to the national stage with Marn, I get to be involved with a lot of transactions nationally. And it really, I would say during the pandemic, agents that knew the VA, they were still winning deals and didn't have to be the number one offer.
Mm.
They were winning deals because they knew their product. They had a good reputation about knowing the product and a good reputation about being an agent.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
but yeah, that's one big thing I can say about VA. If you get into it, study, 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 and never stop learning, because the VA will do little things that they'll issue a bulletin that's only good for 3 months or 6 months. So it'll change one little variable for a short period of time, or sometimes they just make changes and they don't update the handbook. They just send out a circular and says, this serves as the update. So it's get into it and stay in it. I
Yeah.
watch podcasts all the time. I watch stuff all the time. I've been doing it for 20 plus years and I'm still constantly trying to stay on the front so I don't miss something.
As you should. Yeah, yeah. See, what you just explained is basically saying there's not going to be a teacher or a classroom that's going to just say, hey, this is a new update. You literally have to go in and actively do the work and find out what's going on. What's the new rules, new adjustments, laws, regulations, etc. A mouthful with that, Jeff, but a few things I want to take away from what you just said. Um, and I think you touched on this briefly. I have heard from other agents who talk about the stigma, I guess you can say, that goes along
Yes.
with a client that is applying to purchase a home with a VA loan. And I've always been confused about it because I'm thinking, if you're the seller, you're getting a check for the amount that you
Yep.
settled for, negotiated for. So why does it matter about the loan or the financing option?
Yep.
And then I was put into perspective for me about some loans, some programs require certain conditions for the property, or require, just certain stipulations that may have the seller jump through extra hoops that they just don't want to. Anything you can speak on
Oh,
directly with that
yes.
experience, please, Jeff.
Correct. So the biggest stigma with the VA loan is that all these, like you touched on it, all these appraisal required conditions that we have to fix. So
Yep, there you go.
the first thing is that the seller's not required to fix them. The buyer can fix them, either agent can fix them. It doesn't require anybody to pay for them. Also, in what's required, everybody's like, oh, but there's so many more requirements, so many more requirements. Well,
Right,
actually, the VA builds in what they call health, welfare, and safety. Those are the three minimum conditions that it has to pass. That's actually built into Fannie Freddie. So, like if a window's broke out, that's going to come up on a conventional appraisal as well. It's not
correct.
just, oh, the VA or even the FHA per se.
FHA,
But
yep.
in that, a lot of items that come up, a lot of people don't realize the military member, the person using the VA loan, whether they're active, veteran, doesn't matter. If a bunch of little, and we'll just call them, ticky tack things pop up that aren't really necessary for the condition of the home, there's no health, welfare, or safety, they can actually call the VA and they can request those items be waived from the appraisal. The VA will go look at the appraisal and they'll be like, oh yeah, we don't need those. And they'll actually toss them. We had a deal where we had about five and a half, $6,000 worth of required repairs on the appraisal, including one of them was it needed a new electrical panel. So we had the veteran call in, and in my case, I always work with my buyers. So that way, because a lot of times, again, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what verbiage to use or say. So we'll help them, coach them, or even get on the call with them. But when we asked about the panel, which was going to cost almost about 2 grand with all the updates and new code stuff to cover,
Mm-hmm.
we're like, well, it passed inspections, and it also, we have a letter from an electrician. It's completely fine. There's no code violations. It works. Is that appraiser an electrician? No. Are they a code enforcement official? No. Are they a licensed contractor? No. Okay, then they're not the authority, they're not the expert. And so a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people just assume because somebody said something that it's so. You can actually go look at the rules and regulations and they're like, no. So we always protest that. We got that stuff waived down. That it was almost 6,000 repairs. We got it waived to like $500.
Mm.
And at that point, everybody's like, win, score, right? And so
Right.
that's something within the VA transaction that a lot of people don't understand, is that the repair side of it's where it gets hung up and where a lot of the stigma comes from. But a lot of those items are, if they're truly there, they're there, and they would pop on a conventional. All the extra
Right.
stuff
Right.
you
Right.
can get rid of.
Right, right. Yeah. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
settling that and putting, putting perspective to it, because I've heard that and it makes my blood itch. I'm like, why do you treat it different just because of where the money's coming from? Keep your house up
Yeah.
to date. Keep it like you're really just trying to find someone you can just kind of swindle if you're being honest. You want to get someone who's going to
Oh yeah.
waive inspections, waive appraisal, and just buy it as is. No, why don't you fix the house, get it together so that anybody moving in, like you said, health,
Health,
wealth.
welfare, and safety.
Come on, man, simple, but
That's it.
that's that's simple. Common sense isn't common though. So thanks for explaining that,
Yeah.
Jeff. One last question about that. In a way, this is a question that came to me when you were speaking earlier. Random. With all the resources that are available for veterans specifically. Now, if you ask me, I think veterans deserve a lot for what they do. But specifically with homes, do you feel like veterans are accommodated the way they should be for their service to this country in order to receive a home?
Uh, when it comes from what the VA's provided in a home loan product, yes, there's a lot of ways we can use that to build wealth.
Okay.
Man, if I would have known the VA product as a brand new private, man, I would have started buying homes the first day I was eligible. And the way
Yeah.
that we can use the loan over and over and over to do that. And, but in that, um, and really, truly, it's more in the public's perception and education is where the breakdown is.
Mm-hmm.
We have things, multiple states around the country. Actually, Kansas just passed a law this year. It'll go into effect for tax year next year. If you're a service connected disability, if you're a disabled vet and your disabilities from service connected related items, they've got a range. So like from 30% to 40%, you're going to get so much off your personal, your primary residence home taxes.
Mm.
Up to, if you're 70% or above your primary home, we're not going to pay taxes anymore. Previously it was all tied to, yeah, if you're a disabled vet, you don't have to pay any taxes, but you also have to be under this income threshold. And it was like, if you make more than 17, 18 something thousand, it was some ridiculously low number, but if you make more than that, you still pay taxes. But lots of states have really good things for veterans, especially disabled veterans, when it comes to their homestead, their primary residence. And we got some more states that need to pick it up and step up and help, but it's a good thing to help just with home ownership. And again, like you said, the demographic that would deserve, if they deserve something, it's going to be especially our disabled vets.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be the ones that deserve to get something. And so there are a lot of states are doing that. So I mean, I feel like the product is great. What we get for home ownership is great. It's more about the education of, if the buyer's agent doesn't understand it, they could mess some stuff up.
Oh yeah.
If the listing agent doesn't understand it, when they get the offer and it's a VA offer, they're presenting it to the seller, they could mess it up. A lot of times I've had situations where both myself, very educated, and the listing agent, very educated, and the seller's been told for the last 40 years how horrible this loan is. And, it's, they're getting 100% financing because they don't have any money. No, a lot of my
Uh,
vets could put 20, 30% down, but they're buying a home with a lot of deferred maintenance. They want to spend the money on the home, not on the home loan.
yeah.
And so, yeah, you're right. Like to me, at the end of the day, the seller agreed to an offer that gets them a check at the table. Really, they should focus on what's my net going to be with this offer, this offer, this offer, and compare that. You know, but again, if because it is a specialty product, if the buyer's agent doesn't understand it or the loan officer that they're working with doesn't understand the product, that's where a lot of the confusion comes from. And so again, I tell all my military people, I don't care if you use me, don't use me, use my lender, don't use my lender, find someone who knows what they're doing.
For sure. For sure.
You know, I can't work with every veteran out there in Wichita, and I'm not trying to, but I'm trying to educate my community on doing better, being better.
Good job. Good job, man. Love that. And we can pretty much pick that up just from, just this interview and our conversation that you're very passionate about that, Jeff. Love to hear it, man. You also have a background in design and home remodeling, like you said, in
Yes, sir.
construction. So beautiful, man. It just adds another
Yep.
unique dimension to your real estate career.
Oh,
So
yeah.
can you narrate a story where your expertise in design helped the client decide on a property and realize the potential that the property had?
Oh, yeah. It is immense. My wife is a designer. She's an interior architect, but I've learned, I learned by osmosis, right? I've spent enough time with her. I get to pick some stuff up, but
Yeah.
it helps a lot with my background in construction. We're walking through a home that maybe hasn't been updated in 20 years. It's real easy for me to look at it and ballpark pricing for them to give them estimates right away,
Mm.
because I've stayed plugged into that side of it. And then, oh, but hey, we really don't like where this wall's at, or we hate where this bathroom's at. For me to be able to walk through it, I can start to go, oh, that's a load bearing wall. It's not a load bearing wall. Hey, we can knock that out, no problem, and ballpark what that looks like for them. So it really helps with my clients. It really helps when we're walking through any home that if they want to update, change, we can take a quick look at it. And sometimes that will help eliminate a home. Like, yeah, we can't move that wall, it's load bearing. Or, hey, you're going to have to put some post and beam it, P-lam it, something. Or the cost to remodel this house on top of the purchase price is going to put you 20, 30, 40,000 over the neighborhood. You're going to wait 5 years before the neighbors catch you. You're going to have to own this home 5 years before you get out clean. That can help them visualize, well, for the future, we can plan better. I'm always looking at the entry, being a good business person, I'm always looking for the exit strategy.
Right.
I want to make sure my clients, when they buy a home, whatever their plans are with it for future use, that when it is time to sell it, that it's also been a good investment for them, not just, where they're creating memories. It's a great place to go create memories at your home, but it's also an investment. We need to treat it like that. So we always try to do those things. And those are the things that I use my design and construction background for, is making sure that if they want to update it, that the updates, one, they can do them, but two, that if they do them, they're not going to be priced out of the neighborhood.
Of course, of course. I would love to have. I don't see why everybody doesn't look for an agent with the expertise and knowledge like yourself. I feel like having a background in construction, design, home remodeling like yourself, that comes into play, because I would be calling you all the time. What should I buy to upgrade this, or what do you recommend for the parts? And are these parts good for such and such? Are these sustainable? So
Oh, yeah.
I just love picking your brain. I love that you're speaking on it, and like I said, we can hear the passion in your voice, man. I think all
Oh,
agents should have
thank you.
that type of knowledge, if you ask me personally.
It's, and I do too. I think, agents that just get in and want to write some paper and slap a sign in the yard. No, I'm like, it's real. Like, to me, my perception is that every single one of my buyers or sellers, if it's a $350,000 house we're buying, it's basically they're handing me a briefcase with 350K in it. And they're telling me, protect my investment. If we're selling, it's worth 350. We're listing for 350. They basically handed me that briefcase full of cash and said, Jeff, make sure we get to the finish line with all our money. And I tell people, you got to be serious about it, because it's the largest investment most Americans will ever have, is their home.
Correct.
And we, on our side of the table, the professionals, the real estate professionals, it's our job to protect them. And yeah, so that's when I'm educating, when I'm in front of a classroom teaching as a broker. It always comes from a point of view, like, we have to do better, be better.
Yeah.
And you always have to grow your knowledge base.
I agree. We're just random, real quick. You just had some fireworks come up in your background. I don't know where that came
Yeah,
from.
I don't know.
Did you see it too?
It popped on my screen. Well, so I put a thumb up, and I think, is it motion? Yeah, I'm getting some thumbs
Oh,
up because I'm doing that. I
Oh
don't know what
wow, I didn't
happened,
know
but
I
yeah,
could
I
do
saw the
that. It's
fireworks
not
go
working for
off.
me. Okay, well, whatever.
Yeah,
Well,
something
cool.
fireworks went off, and I'm like, I thought you were doing something
No,
in the background.
I've never seen that on the closing table. That's a new one. Okay, cool.
Hey,
All right, so listen, Jeff, man. Before we get out of here, man, I had a question for you. We're gonna toss that question away. I got another question I'm gonna ask you before we wrap this up. Thinking back on your career, Jeff, what would you say you learned about yourself and the importance of serving others?
oh man, it's honestly, it goes back to my dad. Man, he I grew up with that man. We grew up on a poor dirt farm. My dad, but he served the community. If another farmer needed something, he was always over helping getting their equipment back up running or helping do this. My mom and dad became foster parents when I was 5, and my mom just gave up her license last year, in her 70s. So I mean, I watched my parents live a life of service, and then obviously I come from a military family. I served,
Mm-hmm.
and it's what I learned in my real estate career is that when it's genuine service, when you're serving your clients and it's genuine, you're doing things like breaking broken glass out of a window for a seller because, man, you care about the deal and you care about the people. And you know that if your client has to sleep the night in a motel room, I get to go home and sleep at night in my bed.
Yeah.
Well, if they're sleeping in a motel room because they moved out of a rental and all their stuff's in a moving truck, that creates stress. And so, honestly, man, I view my position and what I do in real estate as a way to serve people in honestly one of the most stressful situations of their life. Moving is it can be really stressful, especially in the military community. Sometimes you don't know when you're going, how you're going. We listed a house. We signed a listing agreement just a couple weeks ago. They didn't have orders. They were told you're moving, but no orders. And so we're listing their house and they have to trust that the orders are going to come through. To move back to the East Coast, and they have to trust that they're going to be able to find a house there without orders. Well, you can't get a house somewhere with it. You can't sign a lease agreement without orders bringing you there. In military towns, they know how that works, and so yeah, we were talking about selling their house for probably 3 weeks before the order showed up.
Oh
And
wow.
just helping people with the stress. I mean, that's our job too. It's not just the transaction, it's making sure that we can help find and mitigate, take on that for them, or find ways that we can help just lower that stress, because sometimes, man, your stress gets up here in a
Mm-hmm.
transaction. We're just trying to make sure it's palatable, that and so in serving others, man, it's in this industry. I tell people that are looking at this industry, if they want to get into it, man, this is the place you can serve people in so many different ways in this community, in this environment, in this job. And I call it a career. It's not, for me, it's not a job. It's what I do.
Yeah.
And and I know many other agents, they're this passionate about their people, but really it's loving on people, man. It's
Yeah.
and but it does it, and it's so intrinsic, because when I can go home to my family and be like, man, I helped this family win here, I helped this family save here, even, man, I helped this guy that isn't even my client work through his roof, and now instead of spending 28, 29 out of his pocket, we're saving that for him.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
had it was in his equity, but man, to give up 30, I mean, I don't care who you are, 30,000 a lot of money. It's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to help serve in that role and capacity, even with, okay, she's a newer agent. Well, we got to show her, hey, when you have a roof problem and the insurance company's going, no, we're not going to pay. Now, this is how you work through it. So even,
Yeah.
we got to educate an agent, to go, and she's not even at my company. She's not even in Keller Williams. And to me, the industry, when you find the really good agents, they're the ones that are willing to serve anybody. It doesn't matter what company you work for. Hey, man, if I know, I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
Or doesn't matter who the client is. Oh, it's your client. Well, if I have the knowledge to help, let's all work together. Let's, it's more that community, humankind, right? Just be kind. We're all humans.
Yeah.
And
Yes, sir.
it's, but to serve others, I mean, it's literally, it's what I love to do. It's kind of like, if I had a drug of choice, it's let's go find somebody that needs help and help them.
Beautiful. Beautiful. What a way to go out, Jeff. Man, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, pulling up a chair to the closing
Hey,
table. At this point, if you have any last words and or want to tell people how to reach out to you, the
oh yeah.
floor is yours.
Okay, awesome. So to reach out, all of our social is at Dwell Wichita, DWELL our tagline is love where you dwell. We want everyone love your home. Oh, dude, we got fireworks. Man,
Where's that coming
because
from? You're doing
it's
a
a great
great
comment,
job.
right? But love where you dwell means love your home, love your community, love your neighbors. And that's kind of where our marketing comes from. We want people, introduce people to Wichita so you can learn to love it. But in that, at Dwell Wichita is all of our social, doesn't matter what it is. And honestly, I would say parting words would be we love that military space. So if you're in that as a professional, get educated. If you're watching this and you're just a homeowner, home investor, home seller, make sure you fully understand the VA product before you turn down a VA offer.
Yeah.
Because there are so many places in it where it's actually more beneficial for not just the buyer, but also the seller when it comes to the transaction. So many places where the seller can benefit. And so honestly, get educated, and don't just turn down a VA offer just because it's a VA offer. Turn it down because it's not the best offer.
Yeah.
But just get educated, man. And then honestly, in this world, serve as many people as you can. It's help others, serve others, especially when you can see they need a helping hand. Doesn't matter what it is, just do for others.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a perfect place to land the plane. Thank you so much again,
Yes,
Jeff. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Absolutely. And for our YouTube audience watching right now, if you've gotten to this point in the episode, do us both a favor and hit that like button. I didn't get the thing like you did, but hit that like button. There you go. It's not
come on. Every time I put my thumbs up.
I know. Make sure you also hit the subscribe button and hit the alert so you know when we are going, whenever we put up content. And make sure you also share the content. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platform, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. And Jeff, I like to leave our audience with a question before they leave just to get their brains turning, thought-provoking. So this is for you, audience. If you are a veteran or you know someone who is, what program would you suggest them to use to purchase a home? And what are some of the key features? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.